Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about my last leg and chest workout. And I got some time since I'm here prepping food. So what I've got here is really just basic bitch stuff, like chicken and rice. I was doing beef, now I'm back to chicken. God damn it, Tommy. I was doing beef, now I'm back to chicken. Ah! So I move that stuff around depending on the week back and forth. I kind of blend it, if you will. But what I wanted to talk about is the last leg workout, it still has me sore. Like, my legs are still pretty toasty. Now, I had an opportunity to hop into a jacuzzi yesterday, and that helped a little bit. Actually, that helped a lot. Just kind of sitting there, the jets, the warm water, like my legs do feel a little bit looser, but they're still pretty gnarly in terms of tight, which I would argue is a good thing. It means I did the job. I did what I set out to do. But the main focus is really just going to be legs and chest. Now, like when I did legs the week prior, I ended up missing one of my doubles. The first double where I ended up dumping it in the rack. That's why you should always just set the pins. Don't be a goober. Just set the pins. But anyway, I missed that first double, and then I ended up just ditching it, like I said, in the rack or on the pins. Now, why did I miss that? Well, it's because my food, has been a little bit lower than it normally is. Why is it normal than it usually is? I've had to adjust my schedule because of the second job. So, giving my body time to get used to acclimate, is really going to be the biggest catalyst for when I come to test in just a few short weeks. But one of the changes I made was I'm just eating a hell of a lot more. I ramped my calories up so that the next leg workout, which was a couple days ago, wouldn't be such an issue. It wouldn't be so hard. This last time I did legs, the only thing I missed were the banded squats for doubles. I wanted to do 2 sets of 2, but when you've got, I think it's 75% is what I had, which was 290. So I had 290 on my back, in addition to the bands, which I had anchored to the bottom of the rack. Now the bands anchored to the bottom of the rack, that adds load. Bands have tension. So it compounds. When it compounds quick. So that band tension is what buried me. Don't underestimate that band tension. Because like I said, that shit buried me. Like, it buried me. I was shaking like Bambi. But it was still good. It was very good. Why was it good? Well, let's go back to what I was just talking about. I upped my calories. I may have missed those doubles, but where the previous band squat 3 weeks prior was like 250, 255, a 40-pound jump with 200 pounds of band tension, that's a pretty good jump. That's not small by any means. You figure, 25% of 200, 5, 10, 15, 20 is 50 pounds. Now, granted, we're going 250, so you do the math. I'm not going to bother with it. The point is, we're doing a good 20% jump in addition to the band tension, which also compounds. So, and that's kind of where I'm getting at, where it's a big jump. Now, bench. The bench prior went off like it was nothing without a hitch. However, yesterday, it also went off without a hitch. It was good the week prior because I wasn't doing anything heavy. I think it was volume. Volume being like 70% or so. 75, 65, 70, 75% in that ballpark. Typically doing a set of 8, a set of 6, something along the lines of that, depending on what the week calls for. So it's nothing too crazy, but it still does have its issues or difficulties when you're fatigued. One of the things I want to touch on is food. My squats was better because I ate more food, right? Food equals energy, energy equals strength. Looking at carbohydrates, carbs aren't bad. Eating more food is going to be essential for gaining more mass, unless you're on drugs. But you still need to eat, you still need to train in account. So they won't give you what you want if you're not eating and training for it in addition to that. But the point is, carbs are good. So I eat a lot of carbs. So this is a protein smoothie, mango. I think it's like 500-600 calories. It's nothing too crazy, but it's a nice little snack. And that sugar, ooh boy, that's gonna get those veins popping. But like I said, we're going back to legs and chest. A really, really, really good fucking workout. The last 2 workouts. And why was it so good? It's just because I'm eating more. It's not rocket science. So you can follow these fad diets, you can follow these gurus. End of the day, just fucking eat. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's got the zoomies. So like, you see all these like fitness professionals, nutrition professionals, unless they get a degree and they're a registered dietitian. I'm not saying they don't know anything. I'm not discrediting anyone by any means, but I'm just saying, like, it's not rocket science. You look at the quality of food, and then you look at how much food. If you have muscle mass, you're going to require more energy because you have to fuel that muscle mass, right? It's pretty simple. And then if you have healthy hormones, like I would argue my testosterone is on the healthier side. I haven't had it checked yet, but I would argue it's going to be on a healthier side. So you got to eat, and you got to eat healthy. You got to eat to fuel the demand. You also have to eat good quality food. Now, if you're on drugs, I would argue you can be looser with your food. So I would argue if I was on drugs, I could be looser with my food and still lean down. But to keep in mind with that as well, that I could have a much better physique, I could have better workouts if I spend the time to do shit like this. If I spend the time to cook my food, to have my eggs. You know, there's no right or wrong. I'll be the first to say I fucking love Eggos. Majority of my food is still on the healthier side. If I want to go get a breakfast burrito, I go get a breakfast burrito. But my calories are in check. Now, if I was on drugs, I'd be a little bit leaner, I would argue. Still eating as loose as I am now. Now, my loose eating is probably still cleaner than yours. So, I would argue that it's cleaner than most. So, eat more, eat clean. Probably the 2 biggest things. You know, composition is not just how much you're eating in terms of weight loss, weight gain, lean, fat, whatever you want to say. But it also is going to reflect on how good the food is. If you're eating McDonald's every day, eating Taco Bell every day, you're probably going to show a reflection of that in your body. Let's be real here. If you're not training with intensity, you're not burning as many calories, same idea. It's going to show. One of the things you also have to keep in mind is, I don't know how long you've been training, if you do train, if you're watching this, but I've been training since I was like 15, and I'm 31. I'll argue I've got a little bit more time invested than most at a serious level. Not everyone, but then I would say for most. I'm a little bit stronger than we'll say the average. So what I've obtained over the course of these 15 years is simply a product of my effort. In addition to food, I competed when I was 19, so 19, 20, and when I was 21. So like I was always relatively aware of my food, even from the very beginning with my posing coaches and with some of the other pro bodybuilders that I was around, picking their brains, seeing what they're eating. You know, don't be afraid to ask the bigger guys questions. They're some of the nicest guys you can ever meet, despite them looking so hulking. That leg workout, point is, it felt really good. Like my legs, I can start to feel them again. I maxed out the adductor machine after. Just started doing like 5 sets, going for broke. And man, dude, my legs, I'm stoked with the progress. Strength, so I've got bad days, good days, but like how they're coming along, I'm content. You don't have to eat crazy clean. You don't have to eat crazy boring. You just have to eat. There was, I think it was my dad. He said, if you're the strongest guy in the gym, find a new gym. There's always someone stronger. There's always someone with different insight. So you want to take advantage of that. So kind of going back to a previous point, if you see some of these big cats in the gym, and they may look intense because they're in their set, but if you catch them when they're not working out, you catch them when they're in their downtime, they're some of the probably nicest guys you'll ever meet. Granted, like, not everyone, I'm sure some of them will have a stick up their ass. You know, they might be going through something and they just don't want to talk, and that's cool. Like, that's respectable. I can respect that. But from over 10 years of experience, I would argue that typically the biggest, baddest looking guys are some of the nicest, kindest guys. Like, take a look at that influencer, Joey Swole. If you're not in the gym and you're not around guys like that, he looks like an intimidating motherfucker. However, I've heard from people who have met him at different expos that he is genuinely a good person, like genuinely a kind person. It's not just an act on the social media. Now, granted, like, who knows behind closed doors, but the point is, like, he looks intimidating. He looks like a scary motherfucker. But from those that I've talked to that have actually met him, super respectful, super happy, like all around decent individual. So that's a prime example of really somebody you might see in the gym that is on the more intimidating side. Aesthetically, physically, they look intimidating. But once you get to talking to them, you realize they're just a fucking big ass teddy bear. Could move a house. And that's what I want to throw out there really quick is, don't judge a book by the cover. Some of the biggest, baddest looking guys in the gym are some of the nicest guys in the gym. Now, so I hate to go back to my legs, but I'm super proud of my legs. I'll be the first to say that. So like, I can finally start flexing them again. And now that I can flex them, I can see those lines. I wish the lighting was better. But they're starting to finally come in. I just wish my evolved calves would follow suit. So, I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. So my legs are finally starting to kick in. Like, the rest of my body has always been so-so. But I'm curious if anyone watching this, like, what are your strengths? Well, also, like, what do you want to see? That too. I've always been a very back-dominant individual. And my legs have always been a weak point. Same with my calves. We'll just say they're evolved. I'm curious to know your weak point. Is it your arms? Is it your back? Is it your legs? Is it your chest? Defining your weak point is not a bad thing. Reflection on what you need to improve on is not a bad thing. It's like in the trenches with muscular development. I think I was like 19, 20 or 18 or something like that. It was over 10 years ago. Muscular development used to have this section called In the Trenches. And there was this bodybuilder. And he simply said, make your weak point your favorite thing to train. So if your weak point is your chest, if your weak point is your arms, if your weak point is your calves. Now, if you just want evolved calves like me, you won't train them. I'm joking, of course. But the point is, like, you make your weak point your favorite thing to train. Nobody likes training legs, from what I talk to in the masses. However, I fucking love training legs. Why do I like training legs? Because I am so physically drained. I am so physically drained and exhausted from training legs that I just feel really fucking good after. We're like arms and shoulders, like, yeah, I get a good workout, don't get me wrong. But it's not the same. When I'm done training legs, just physically exhausted, and I do legs twice a week. I want the biggest, baddest motherfucker type legs that I can develop. I want to die where each leg needs its own casket. That's what I'm shooting for. That's my goal. But I genuinely like training legs. The workouts where I've almost or have been puking afterwards have been some of the most exhilarating of workouts. And call it what it is. I know I completed something. I know I accomplished something. So when I get done with legs and I'm in that state of like, fuck, I'm not moving. Like I'm gonna feel this tomorrow. That shit is what gets me going. That shit's what's gonna be the catalyst for me coming back the next day. It's gonna be the catalyst for coming back next week, for coming back and training even harder. Because I want to chase that feeling. I want to have some of the biggest, baddest legs when I'm in my mid to late 30s. Now, I'm 31. So to put it in perspective, I'm not talking about a week from now. Hell, I'm not talking about a month from now or a year from now. I'm talking about 5 to 10 years. I want to have some of the biggest, baddest fucking legs when I step on stage, if I so choose to in the coming time. I want my legs so fucking massive that people talk about them. But I don't want it to be just in photos that they look big. I want it to be something where when you see me on the street, I look like Joey Swole. My legs are just hulking out of my pants, where I'm tearing pants. Oh, that's a good stretch, Tommy. That's a good stretch. I'm just tearing pants because they're so big inside those pants, my legs. So that's what I'm shooting for. So if you think you're the strongest or biggest guy in the gym, find a new gym. It's always going to be someone bigger and badder. But also, they're also going to be one of the nicer guys too. So food for thought. So that's what I got. So I had to cook, pop the camera out. My cat's being a potato. So let me know what you guys think. I'm curious to know your weak points.